Hey everyone, it's John Moncrief, and this week's question is, why do some small businesses fail to grow? It came from a conversation I had with a client this week, and Martin was sitting there, he looked at me across the table and he said, I'm at the ceiling of complexity of my own making. And I thought, bullseye, you've nailed it. You couldn't be further from the truth. And the truth is that most of us entrepreneurs, and I know I've been there, create a ceiling of complexity. And then once we've created the ceiling of complexity, we end up sort of banging our heads against it, trying to grow the business, getting really, really busy, but we just keep banging ahead, and the business doesn't grow. This week, I want to strip away some of that complexity. And I want to start by asking you to imagine a dartboard. The center of a dartboard, you've got a bullseye, right? And then around it, you've got these concentric circles that move further and further away from the bullseye. Your bullseye is the reason your business exists. It's your purpose. It's why you're there. The bullseye also represents your ideal clients. They have a problem. Your business exists to solve that problem. And then thirdly, the bullseye represents the stuff that you absolutely have to get done to grow the business. Now, as you drift further and further away from the bullseye, what happens is that your business becomes more complex. And as it becomes more complex, it gets more difficult to grow. So let's tackle why you drift away from the bullseye to start with. As you go through the startup stage and the growth stage, and when your business goes through ups and downs, you're very often pursuing revenue, resources are limited, you're trying to drive up your revenue, and you're just trying to grow the business as best you can. And you're inclined to take on business that may not be inside your ideal market, your bullseye, with your ideal client. So somebody will come to you and they say, what you do is really great, your product, your service, your piece of software, but I need this extra feature. So you think about it and you decide to tweak the product, decide to tweak the service or add something to your piece of software. How much harm can it do? And you do that, your client goes away and they had a great experience, so they tell other people about it. And the next person comes along and love what you do, great product, but can you add this or make it do that? And you decide to do it again. And what's happening is that you keep drifting further and further away from your bullseye. And making these kind of changes to the original product or service may almost seem insignificant at the beginning. You want to accommodate new clients. However, it ultimately undermines the growth of your business. Why? Well, if you imagine, to grow a business beyond your efforts, you need staff, you need a team, and you need to build that team, and you need to teach that team how your products and services work, train them. And as you add complexity to your products and services, it becomes more and more difficult to train people. As human beings, it takes time for us to master something. Think about it, teaching a child to ride a bike. If I go back to when I taught my daughter to ride a bike, I remember running behind her with a stick stuck in the back of the bike and trying to keep her balanced and saying, okay, Courtney, pedal faster. Courtney, look at where you're going. Don't look at me. Keep your eye on the road. Keep your handlebars straight. Turn to the corner. And if you're lucky, over a few weeks, perhaps a few hours, in my case, a few months, your child learns to ride the bicycle. The same is true with employees. You take time and you invest and you teach them how to deliver a product or service. And when it comes to switching something or adding complexity to a product or service, they have to relearn those things. So now it's like me taking Courtney off the bicycle and saying, here's one of these unicycles. Hop on that and ride. It's a lot more complicated. Now, as adults, we've mastered the art of riding a bicycle, or at least I should think as adults we've mastered the art of riding a bicycle. But try and put us on one of those unicycles or single wheel things, it's a very different story. You've got to relearn it. So every time you add complexity to your product, your staff need to relearn it. And what happens is that they're delivering a product or service and they're not delivering it well anymore. And customers are getting unhappy. Customers are coming back to you and saying, it's not working the way it should work. It's taking longer to deliver than it should take. And you're the one who has to get involved again. And you're the one who has to fix the problem. So instead of building a business where that can grow and where you have a team of people that are capable of delivering, and a product or service that is a product or service being delivered to multiple people, you're in a situation where you're very involved in delivering the products or service, and you almost have multiple products or services being delivered to multiple different clients. And you're just creating this hot mess of complexity. So when Martin talked about, I'm at a ceiling of complexity of my own making, I think he really nailed it. As entrepreneurs, we're inclined to sort of go beyond our ideal, beyond our bullseye, and we're inclined to add complexity to pursue revenue, and we wonder why the business isn't actually growing. Sure, maybe numbers are going up, but the business isn't growing. And it doesn't just apply to the product or service you're selling. It applies to the things that you need to get done every single day. If you're distracted and you're not knocking off 2 or 3 tasks every day that you need to do to move the business forward, then you're kind of going away from that bullseye to these sort of circles that go out from what you need to be doing at the core, what you need to be focusing on. And I think the same thing applies to technologies as well. When you're trying to decide which technology to implement and you're testing this and then trying that, and you're more focused on the technology than actually getting something done, you're going outside of the bullseye again. So the message today is strip away the complexity, focus on the bullseye, and don't end up in that situation where because of a ceiling of complexity of your own making, you keep bumping your head. Love to hear your comments on this one. Put them down below. And don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks very much.